Hey everybody, welcome to episode 10 of SideQuest. I've been waiting to do this episode for quite some time. Nora is my favorite character on the show. Fuck you other three. I'm sorry. I love the concept, and Kelly and I have had a deep love of murder, mystery, and serial killers, I think, since her and I have started playing games together. So we've developed a lot of things over the years in different games we played, specifically in our Blades in the Dark, and she's kind of been my partner in crime, literally, in a lot of this stuff. Not like actually murdering people, though we don't, well, maybe, but we don't do that. She goes all the conventions with me. You've probably seen her around, so I'm super pumped to be doing this today. This side quest is going to be about the beginning. I shouldn't say the beginning. I should say diving deep into the investigations of the victim cards that have been going on in Merrifield, along with what the Grigori has hired her for in the last episode. That is a big piece of the puzzle in the 13 episodes for the first season, and we're finally kind of rolling into those. So I'm excited to see how much she ties together, because she has tied a lot of stuff together before I've been able to give clues out, and that's just the kind of player she is. So I'll bring us over to all three of us, or two of us, and we're gonna go from there. Hi, Kelly.
Hello.
Are you ready to Nora it up?
I'm gonna do my best.
I'm not too worried. I mean, I'm worried that you're going to solve it before episode 13. That part I'm worried about. Here, we're going to, in true police fashion, I'm going to pour myself some coffee. It's not that early today, but Eric has been working very long and he's very tired. So we're going to see what I can do today. So, Nora, last time we left this investigation was you dealing with Grigori inside of your investigation. What do you call it? Is it a PI office? What do you call your place?
I would say it's her office. It's her PI office.
So it's the main office too, right? Because it's in New Bolivar?
Right.
So the main office in New Bolivar, you dealt with the Grigori, a 7-foot tall Moldavian with milky white eyes. When he left, you realized that he actually cooled the room down a decent amount. Your fire actually kind of picked back up. A lot of little odd things. And you've dealt with the Rathmores numerous times in investigations, so you do know that they're not normal. Most Rathmores have a little something off about them.
Right.
My question to you for Nora is, has she ever investigated why the Rathmores are so different on her own time? Or is it a paying person? She doesn't give a shit.
I think she would have investigated them initially to find out if taking a job from them was a good idea. And then go from there. All right,
what skill would you use to do that? I know we're gonna have a lot of skill checks today, which is odd for SideQuest, but because we're doing investigation, it has to be done, like research and skill checks. But you're used to it, I'm used to it, so we should be fine.
Probably society.
Give me a society roll. Ooh, I get to use my new Norse Foundry dice.
Let me just make sure that's right. I got a 32.
Okay, you need a 30. So, Kelly, you may remember from previous games that we did, but nobody else has seen it yet. Most of the Rathmores are special because they come out of the Haunted Manor in Wolflock. Every Rathmore is required to visit that manor at some point in time. You know that going in the Rathmore Manor and coming out changes you. It's how you're kind of inducted into the society. It's not a family name, which is a common misconception. Rathmore, you could be anybody. That's why the Grigori said he had a different last name. You could be anyone. You just get inducted into the society. The Rathmore Society is an organization of people who study the weird and the occult stuff, and they're a lot of times willing to do some pretty bad things to get the information they want. Wolflock is where that comes from. What you would know is every Rathmore flies through New Bolivar to get there. So this is a common piece of information for you, not common, an uncommon piece of information that you would know with that check. But they do always pay, and they don't backstab the people they have work for them unless they fail.
Okay.
So, and this not even backstab. It's more like you failed. Maybe you get cut off. Maybe you don't get paid. They usually don't murder the people who work for them because that doesn't look good for the society. That doesn't mean darker things don't happen. But for you, you've always been paid because you've always done the case.
Right.
So,
Okay.
with that said, we're going to open our investigation at the yard in New Bolivar, right? This is going to be Nora looking into the case. So going there and you being based out of New Bolivar for quite a few years, correct? You were here for a while?
Yes. I'd say like at least 2 or 3.
So if you're here for 2 to 3 years, you've already got some contacts here that are still around because you've only been gone from here for about a year now in Merrifield, on and off. The yard person that you deal with is Jack Ansley. Jack Ansley is a file clerk in the records department for the yard here. The New Bolivar yard is very large. It is a 3-story building with a basement, which is where the records are. And they do have their own prison as well that is separate from the yard itself. The earthbound prisons are magical here. Basically, they are earthen walls, but the doors that they open and close are literally stone that they raise and lower and seal. So breaking out of this prison is hard. Almost as bad as the pendulum in Mayoshan. Theirs is a different reason. Jack Ansley has been around for a while. He's an older file clerk. He's in his 60s. He's near retirement, but hasn't retired yet. A lot of people think he never will. My question to you to start this off is, what ancestry is he? And human's an acceptable ancestry. If so, I would just like to know where he's from.
And I'm going to say... No, I'm taking too long here. I'm going to say... I'm going to say... Siren.
He is a siren? All right. All right. That's a pretty old siren. 60 means that he was a siren before the Sundering. They did exist then, but no one knew about it. So he would be a first generation siren. So
Maybe
as you show up,
that's why he doesn't want to retire.
So as you show up to the yard, we're going to start the scene there. The yard in New Bolivar is a solid stone building with brick upper structure, but everything below, that whole first floor, is solid stone. Think of like Alcatraz, like it is solid. This is all shaped with machinery or with magic, using the Earth Guard from the True Faith. He is in the basement, so you come into the front, check yourself in like normal, and the downstairs has got that classic metal cage where you're talking to someone through a cage, and behind him is a bunch of boxes with files in them. To the left and to the right, to the left is a room for private opening of like files and looking over them. To the right is a meeting room where like 4 to 5 people could be in there in case they're looking over files as a group. Solid again, no windows into them. Daylight lanterns in here, very dim unless you turn them up. Or not daylight, dawn lanterns, unless you turn them up. His room is well lit though. So he shows up, the siren, he's old. He still has all of his hair. It is still a rich blonde. He has it pulled back in almost like a bun. You can see his scales are more predominant than normal than a siren. Being first generation, their human heritage is not as dominant as the sirens of nowadays. But he doesn't look like he's aged a day. For 60, he looks like he's in his late 20s, early 30s, which is one of the perks of being a fae and definitely of being a siren. He's very slender, stands about, I'd say 5'8". And he has a perfect voice. He can go all the way back to the back of the records room and speak, and you can hear him at the counter, like he's standing there. So there's a bell there. Walk up, and you ring the bell. Jack wanders his way up. Big smile on his face when he sees you, and he says, Nora, it has been a long time since I've seen you. I heard that you were shipped out to a ghost town.
No longer a ghost town, but if things keep going the way they are, there might be a few spirits that need to be wrangled.
Yeah, word on the ether is that you guys have a good 700 to 800 people who live there now. That's outstanding.
it is definitely an accomplishment.
Does she not seem like she is too enthralled by the amount of people who are there?
It's not
like,
that
would he
not,
catch anything? Like,
he would catch that she's a little frustrated with the influx.
Okay, so he keeps his smile and he goes, Nora, the perpetual study. You're not too happy about the amount of people who are there, I take it?
It's not the amount of people, it's the fact that they're coming in so quickly. We've been having issues before we got there, and it's just hard to vet. It's hard to vet people when they're coming in droves. It makes my investigations harder.
Well, I mean, you have a yard there, my understanding. There's what is his name? Officer Gatings? I guess he's been doing really well.
He has been. I've been very impressed with his work. It's just, like I said, we have so many new people coming in that I feel like it might be overwhelming our department as well.
I'm sorry to hear that. That's never fun. Well, what brings you back to New Bolivar? And specifically, what brings you back to the records? What can I do for you? I'm assuming you're here, unless you're just here to say hi. Which that's not typical Nora.
he knows me a little too well, I think. It's usually like nice, pleasant chat, but then down to business.
Yep.
So it's kind of like down to business. She's like, I am here for a couple of weeks.
Okay.
Working on a few things, but while I was here, I've been visited. I've been hired to investigate an escaped convict.
Ooh, deep into the police stuff again. I'm glad to see you haven't given that up. I'm afraid you were going to retire in Merrifield. He kind of smiles, like half joking. Sure. Well, let's talk about business then. You know I love business. That's why I still work down here. Give me some information. I will walk to the back and see what I can find.
So in our dealings in the past, like, me being honest with him hasn't bitten me too hard, right?
He has never betrayed your trust once. Not a single time.
Okay. It was not even like it wasn't even like him purposely betraying my trust. It's more like maybe I overstepped and we both got our hands slapped.
No, like he will tell you if he can't do something, because there's certain files he says, well, it's too far back in the room for me to get a hold of. Like that kind of thing. Even if you offer money, he always says no. He definitely draws the line to be safe. But because you're a PI, you do have access to this stuff. And specifically, the badge that you own allows you to have a lot more flexibility in New Bolivar than normal. Merrifield, you have total flexibility because I think Gatings secretly sees you as the person who just makes decisions, even though it is his job.
Right.
But and he's growing out of that, as his time continues. Here, it's more about you've earned respect. You have a PI license. You can come here and research stuff unless it's a really secret case.
Right.
Escape convict, though, falls right up the alley, especially since PI and bail bondsman are real close to being the same thing here.
Okay. That being the case, then I would tell him. A gentleman approached me looking for someone to investigate the disappearance of a Miss Olivie Howitz. I guess she was...
Olivie Howitz.
She was on a prisoner transport that was going between Cadra and Moldavia, and she escaped on this side.
And obviously has not been found, I assume?
The information that I received from my employer, she's the daughter of banking magnates and probably stashed enough funds away before they shut her off from familial support. So
her family doesn't support her anymore. That's good to hear.
Right. Well, at least openly. I'm not sure if they would support her under the table, as it were, but she was arrested and being taken back to Moldavia because she is accused of murdering 12 citizens.
She's a murderer?
Yes.
Okay. Do you know if the case is still open?
If that particular case isn't open, it might be tying into a case that I'm looking into, because in looking over the MO for the murders, unfortunately, it matches the MO of the murders that have been happening in Merrifield, which is why I'm not pleased with the sudden influx.
Oh my. I didn't know you were having issues with murders there as well. I mean, I expect it in a ghost town. I guess actually I shouldn't be that surprised. I do expect murders to happen in a ghost town. I don't like to hear that.
I expect some violence to be happening and perhaps a few unfortunate deaths here and there, either crimes of passion or, lack of resources or whatever. But
right.
These all match a specific MO. And so that is what is frightening to me. That's what's concerning to me.
Are we thinking serial killer? Or are we just thinking someone for vengeance?
I'm thinking either serial killer or occult activity.
Okay, well, let me go back and see if I can find anything on the case. An escaped convict, escaped somewhere between, you're saying Cadra and Moldavia? Somewhere escaped somehow? So airship transport, probably not ground. I don't think the train is running to Moldavia right now. There's been some recent rail issues that they're fixing. Give me a few minutes. Feel free to take whichever room you want. We don't have a group coming down here. If you want the private one, over there. If you want the main room with more space, over here. I'll book it out for a few hours for you. And he's going to go back. He can walk around and give you stuff into that room. So basically, he has access to both where he can drop off files. Once files are dropped off, the doors are locked, and you're not allowed to leave with the files. Once he collects the files, the door unlocks. So if you're like, hey, I have to leave, he comes in the room, recollects the files, then you can head out.
Right.
So we're going to go into doing something I don't think we've used for Pathfinder 2, which is the research stuff in the GMG, which is awesome. I don't know if we've looked at it, but it's really cool.
I read a little bit, and then I think we got distracted with the victory points and the...
it's similar. It uses the VP still. So the libraries, each place has its own library, and these libraries have research points that you stack up, and they unlock information. Okay. There's a sample one there for the Glade of Forgotten Time. I have made one here for the Yard in New Bolivar and the level of their library. Specifically, they are one city away from where this happened, which means that they have a good amount of information, but not all of it. So you definitely have to connect dots.
Right.
With that said, we are going to make some research checks. So when you do research, you earn RP, which are research points instead of victory points. They just relabel them. Similar concept. Crits, of course, a crit gives you 2, a success gives you 1.
Okay.
You've already done investigations involving this, right? So I'm going to say you currently have 9 research points. You've already earned that many just because of how many cases you've opened around the victim and what's going on. You're right now trying to hit that 10 to 15 area where you're learning about, finally, Olivie Howitz, the person, Olivie Howitz, the person who has been doing these murders. So now it's that, like, we're trying to hit that next step. That is the goal of today. So he brings in a bunch of paperwork, maybe about 10, 15 minutes later. He sets them down. He brings in coffee for himself. And then he would ask you, he's like, do you eat? Are you hungry? Actually, that's a good question. Nora's changed. Let me backpedal. When he brings in food, do you usually share lunch together while you're doing research? Is that how it used to be?
That's how it used to be.
So he would come in, he would have smoked sky heron, and he would have apple because he grows his own apples. And then he would bring coffee in for both of you. And the coffee is Moldavian coffee, so it's like really dark, rich roast. And he sets them down like he normally does. The herring is there. It's more like a smoked herring spread, and there's some crackers to eat. Same as you guys would always do. He's excited. You can tell he's kind of like pulled it out. And he scrapes the first ones, and he says, well, here's all the books that I have. Here's the records that I found. And he brings out like a file box. He says, it looks like the investigation for this is pretty big, but here's the deal. There's no name attached. The MOs that you've given me and the information is what I'm going off of, the time frames, but the name is not in here. So whoever you are working for has given you a piece of information that the Yard does not have.
Well, he did not tell me I couldn't tell anyone her name, so...
Right,
if we can tie her actually to this case, that could possibly be of benefit to the Yard as well.
Yeah, and I won't give the name because, again, you're a PI. This is up to you. And if they come and ask me about what you looked at, I obviously will have to give them the name. But I know about Howitz a little bit. So I traveled a lot before I decided I wanted to work down here. And I rolled a 36 for him.
All right.
He says, Howitz is a really well-known banking group. Like you said, the Howitz Bank is a big bank. Their daughter is not right in the head. She's been through numerous psychological profilers to help her out, even since a kid. She unfortunately witnessed a really horrible thing in the tides. And I don't have access to that record, and I know the rumors, but they say whatever she saw in the tides touched her and affected her. That's what they say. The tides in Moldavia come from the east. They're a cold current that come in. And the tides have been known to freeze people, cause frostbite, things like that. Whatever she saw touched her and made her not all there. I don't think that's the case. As someone of my lineage, I actually think the tides left something behind with her. That would be my guess.
Okay.
And he sits down and he starts taking his own notes, working on whatever it is he has for the day. Because you guys are in a private room, no one else can get in here. If someone pings, he'll toss his voice around the corner and go there. But he is here to assist you in research. Assisting you, because he works here and he is really good at it, I believe he gives a +3 to when he assists you. So,
All right.
How do you want to go about researching this? What are you looking for clue-wise, and what skill would you like to use after that? You got like academia lore, if you have library lore, legal lore, what would you be digging up to try to figure out how she got away or what she did?
Pull up my character sheet here. I think I would go with
I mean, obviously your best skill.
right.
And while you're looking over that, the way this works is there are research checks that you make. They take hours usually for researching, hour to hours. And then you get research threshold. Each time you hit a threshold, you get new information.
Okay, so sorry about that.
You're
I know
fine.
she's been cut off from her allowance. I know that her
Yep.
family is a big banking magnet.
Yep. Pulling up my cheat sheet.
I think I'm going to review the notes
Okay.
and see if there were any, like in the people who took these reports, see if they noticed anything regarding any occult or religious aspects.
All right. So we're going to start with a occult roll. Is that what you're doing?
Yeah.
All right. Let's start with an occult roll. He
Obviously.
gives you a +3.
Okay. Circumstances without
And it doesn't matter what skill you use because it's him going back to the records,
Records.
pulling up possible things to help you.
Okay. I got a 30.
With his +3?
Yes.
All right. So 30 is over what you need. Is it a critical? It's not a critical, but it is a success. So that's 1. So you get 1 more RP, putting you at 10. So that unlocks a new piece. So you know that her family originated not in Moldavia. While the mother married into a Moldavian, they originated from a city nearby known as Sollizer. Sollizer. I would say Jack would be able to tell you, yeah, that is the city that so I'm 60. I would have been about, let's see, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'd have been about almost 10. We had gotten rid of the years of darkness. The true faith had come in. They'd passed out all of the dawn lanterns and daylight lanterns to people, and specifically to cities. So the Hand of Fire would have came through with the daylighters. About a year later, that city had a tidal wave that came in and crashed on the city and put it in 6 months of darkness. By the time they got in and pushed everything away, all the lanterns had been crushed under the weight of the tides, and I don't think many people survived. Only the most wealthy got out.
Okay.
Her family, specifically her mother, was from there. I guess they were, I'm guessing they may have been together then, but I know the mom is from there. So that means that the mother would be a little bit older, because the father I know is Moldavian, and he like slides you a file that shows the father being Moldavian, from Moldavia himself. And don't worry, it's not Grigori. It's not his name attached to it. It's just a random Moldavian that is one of the Howitz heirs. It's like, that's a pretty big thing. That's not far from here. That's like 10 miles south of here.
Okay.
Is there another skill you would like to use for researching another avenue? You put at 10, at 15, you will unlock another research piece.
Let me just write down mother.
Sure. I'm gonna have to draw out this room, I think, as a map, because I have a feeling Nora lives here.
Right.
You will be happy that they built the lectorum last week.
Nice.
In Merrifield, which means you get a bonus to research as long as you're in there for at least an hour.
So I think while we're doing the research, as this is also me stalling to figure out what I want to roll next.
Sure.
As we are researching, at first I'm not eating.
Okay.
Because it just doesn't occur to me anymore.
Right.
And then
why is that? Have we discussed that on screen?
We discussed it briefly.
Well, that would be a great time to refresh people. Why doesn't Nora eat anymore?
So, abandoned, they have a lot of traits that are similar to the undead. Like, they don't necessarily need to breathe. They don't necessarily need to sleep, although their soul does need to rest, and their body kind of sits unattended while they're resting. And in fact, when they first started appearing, people thought that they were creatures created by the tides, like harmful creatures. As some of them get, I don't want to say necessarily older, but as time passes, they can pick up other traits in the form of ancestry feats. And for good or for ill, Nora is finding herself becoming more and more like an undead. So she has unliving, which means that as an abandoned, her body has gotten to the point where she no longer needs to eat or drink.
Right. And that's a big thing too, because not being able to eat or drink is one less way that you could possibly get sick or infected or poisoned.
Right. But the reason that we haven't really talked about it on screen, but the reason that that came about is I think that she kind of repressed that, because when she first woke up, there was nothing for her to eat or drink. And I think that's when she was found and was able to make her way to society. She kind of repressed everything along with the memories of her life before the Sundering. Yeah. And when she failed that check in looking into the Gorgon and went on that week-long research spree, she was in a fugue and didn't need to eat or drink, and everyone was surprised that she was still there. And it took her a bit to realize that that's always been a thing that she could do.
Well, that is, he would definitely notice, and I think he's pretty social. So he would look at the spread and go, "Are you okay, Nora? Have you not much for the smoked salmon? Has Merrifield changed your taste buds? What's the deal here? This is like one of your favorite things."
I'm sorry. That's incredibly rude of me.
I'm not upset. I'll eat it all. You know that.
I know. It's just you know how sometimes certain abandoned, like as they get older, they don't need to eat or drink.
No, I didn't know that.
Well, that's kind of where I'm at.
Oh. How old are you, Nora? I didn't think you were that old. Does she know?
She knows she woke up in turmoil. She woke up in the.
Does she know how old she was when she died?
I think she does, but she doesn't say it because that just brings back the memories that she's trying to suppress.
And you feel that boom boom in your pocket.
Yeah.
Of the heartbeat.
Yep. So she's like, I'm old enough, I guess.
Okay. I don't mean to pry. A lady's age is a lady's thing. I'm not prying on that. Well, eat or don't. If you don't, I will not be offended because I'll either put it back in the cooler or I will eat it all myself.
She'll eat like a little bit to be like social and appreciate the effort. Kind of like what she did with the ambiter. And
so how long has it been since Nora has ate? Like actually ate food? Like probably the dinner with the ambiter?
Yes.
Okay, so that's 4 weeks ago now, right?
Yes.
So when you taste it this time, the flavor that you remember and expect, the salted, the smoky flavor, a little bit of the sky fish, so the one thing is different about sky fishing versus regular fishing, because everything flies now, is the clouds that they live in actually change the taste of the school of fish. And normally the ones he gets have this very like sweet and salty disposition to them. But for some reason when you eat it now, it just tastes like when you were alive or when Nora was eating, when food went bad. And it like started to rot. Like, yeah, taste fish and you eat it. They say if it smells like fish, don't eat it. That is like the sense that you're getting right now, even though you know that can't be because he's eating this like it's candy.
Right. Like I said, I would eat a little bit to be polite.
Okay. Do you drink the coffee?
Yeah, because that's like her research standby kind of thing. So.
Is that one of her habits that she's kept?
I would think so.
Okay.
Yeah. Like in thinking about it, like she hasn't really eaten any good meals or like had water because she doesn't need to worry about that. But when she's like in her research mode, I think she would drink some coffee. So
when you take the first sip of it, it tastes like drinking cigar ash. And it doesn't taste bad to you. That is not what it normally tastes like.
Right. Well, it's something that I can still enjoy, I guess. So I'll drink it anyway.
Yeah, I would say Nora, if she's taking notes for herself, does she have like her own running list of changes that's going with her? Is she analyzing her own abandoned traits that are changing?
Yeah, because she's a little concerned about it.
Okay, so you would notice it tastes like cigar ashes, like the end of like the very back end of cigar, the end where you're like, this isn't as good as it should be. That is the point. But to you, this tastes actually really good. And he apologizes. He's like, I'm sorry if the coffee's a little off. I made it a little while ago and I ran out, and it tastes like old coffee to him. Okay. If you're trying to relate the two. So what are you going to do for your next check?
I think I'm going to roll society because knowing that Solazier was drowned in darkness and no one could rescue them for 6 months, and the only people that survived were rich people.
Yep.
If her mom was a part of that, either her mother was rich or her family was rich before. That's what I'm assuming anyway.
Very safe assumption.
Best way to try and figure out some info there. So, society. Right. I'm going to hero point that because I can definitely do better than that.
I will mark your first hero point.
I'll mark it down as well.
Don't worry. Our fans have provided so many hero points for everybody. Spend them like quarters.
That was a little better. 22.
22?
Yeah.
Okay. So he gives you a +3.
I was with the +3.
Okay. So you're looking over it. You're trying to find a connection. The problem you're having right now is you don't have a good record of the mother. You just have a record of the father, and you already know he's rich. Like it's part of who he is. It's part of his family's wealth and who they are. Jack looks up and he says, well, I'll tell you what. Let me go grab the records from the old city. I think I have some before it collapsed and turned into the crushed one. I will see if I can find those, and I will come back to you. So he leaves the room, and you can hear him walking way back into it, and he leaves the door open.
Okay.
Is Nora the kind that would do something illegal here, or no?
Not here.
Okay. So he yells from the back, and it sounds like he's in the room with you, and he says, I have files on Sol Lazir, but I also have files on the Howitz family, and they did a Remembrance Day with a bunch of names listed in it. Would you like that?
Sure.
All right, hold on. And he comes back like 10 minutes later, and you finally start hearing footsteps, and he comes up. You know, the area down here is large. Right. And he sets them down, and the file for the Remembrance Day is smaller. He just brings a manila folder and sets it down. On the front of it, it says classified.
And this is why Nora doesn't do illegal stuff in New Bolivar Yard.
Right.
Because that would prevent her from getting access to this kind of good stuff.
Yep. And he goes, you still are licensed, correct? But like he has his hand on the file.
Yes. Like I can pull out licensing papers if he needs it.
Like, no, yeah. If you show him the licensing papers, he slides you the file. Okay. I will allow you a reroll on society with an additional +1 from the files and the +3 from him. The DC will not increase because you've been given new clues.
Right. That's a 31.
A 31 is not a crit, but it is a success. He goes, look over this file. I am not allowed to read this file. I'm allowed to file it. So just to be safe, I'm going to leave the room and just stand around the corner. I'm allowed to leave you in the files here as long as the door is locked. So he like walks around the corner. You hear him going through some stuff, shuts the door. So you're in the room by yourself. So as you're reading over the file, it is a bunch of people from the Howitz family that has passed. When you get back down into like the earlier years, you get through the family who had passed from the Lazir area, basically her side of the family. Okay. Under that, there is 3 names that come out because they also meet the last names of the people who have been killed as some of the 12 victims.
Okay.
So you have Zerix Cizine, so Zerxik, Cizine, which is Cizine.
Okay.
You have Gopos Black, Gopos Black.
Okay.
Pheis, Pheys, and then his last name is Duncombe. Immediately, no check required. All of these names are names of either Fae or outsider. Someone who is like some of these last names are deep speech.
Okay.
So that means you're dealing with people who are either pacted, demonic, worship, that kind of thing. The family comes from that side of things. Specifically, the Duncombe name rings a bell because the gentleman who died in Merrifield, his last name was Duncombe. Okay. That second murder after Edna. Right? Yeah, it was Edna, then that guy, correct?
Right.
Yeah. So that gentleman that the True Fae took care of was a Duncombe. So, with that, is there any other skills you'd like to do to research? You are at currently 12 of 15. Is there any other skills you think you'd be good enough with to try to make that DC 23? You can also use things like perception to like connect things, especially if you started an investigation. You could do that if you haven't been doing that. Diplomacy, if you're looking at maybe like paperwork between two groups, law, if you're trying to find how legally some of this stuff could happen. I will tell you that during the remembrance thing, the one little tidbit of information you know is they were unfettering souls during remembrance and refettering them to more expensive pieces so that the soul could live a better life. Think of it like Egyptians when they bury people, when they're mummifying them, they would bury them with all their worldly possessions. The higher value a relic has when you fetter somebody, they believe the better the soul gets to live.
Okay.
So the Howitz family, during basically when they got married, started fettering all of her family's items when they got married. And that was like a big day of remembrance between the two. And it's usually a really emotional day. It's not uncommon. It is a common thing for marriages to do that if you're marrying into wealth as a sign of, you are with me, I will help take care of your family.
Right. So I'm thinking either diplomacy or legal lore to see if there's any documentation regarding the tying of these families together.
Sure, give me a roll.
I'm trying to figure out which one would make more sense.
We can do one of each if you want.
I think I would do diplomacy for like the pleasant, not to be like looking for love letters or whatever, but like that type of correspondence, and then legal lore for if they were acquiring any sort of businesses from this family in addition to the marriage itself.
Okay. Well, let's start with the diplomacy, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Let's see what you get. I love these subsystems. I think they're some of the best things they've added to the game. I can't believe I'm saying that after all the trash talk I've done for Shadowrun all these years. What, Kelly? Are you deciding if you want to spend a hero point?
Yeah.
You need a 23.
23.
You got your investigation you can add, and then you get the +3 from him for just assisting you.
Okay.
You don't get the +1 for the file because that was already used.
Right. I will spend another hero point.
All right.
Actually. I actually got 23 on the money for this one.
Okay, so you get one.
It's not my good skill.
Hey, no. So, and you said you were looking for what between these two things? What was your connection you're trying to find?
Like I said, not necessarily like love letters or anything like that, but like very much more diplomatic or discussing good relations between the families, or if there were bad relations between the families before this marriage occurred.
So the first thing you're noticing is the maiden name is never mentioned.
Okay.
So there's no maiden name mentioned. Mr. and Mrs. Howitz is all that they put in this documentation. So you've not found anything that relates to the maiden last name.
Okay.
That would be the first thing that you would notice. So that means that's a clue you would definitely want to try to find is who she was previously. I would say maybe doing your legal lore check would be a good way to find that. With the diplomacy connecting the dots, though, you do notice that he took her debt and then paid all of it off immediately, taking her family out of debt. And there was some debt that is not labeled, but looking at the numbers, they are debt that he picked up to be the equivalent of like taking really big gambling debts, like 10,000 Gale gambling debts, something that a normal person in the society of Athantia would never be able to pay off. Because it's a silver economy, and she was in a Gale economy level of debt.
Right. Was she, or was like her family? Or did I not get
it? It does not say that.
Okay.
That would be legal lore.
Okay. Within the family. The huge gambling debts. All right. Legal lore.
This you're good at.
Yeah.
Right now you are at 14.
I got 27.
Okay. Are you keeping that? Are you
supporting Roy?
Are you staying, or are you going to spend a hero point?
I'm going to stay because I don't want to need a hero point and then I get insta-gibbed and I don't have a hero point.
I will tell you before we go to scene, before we go to leaving here to do any other like research, I will let you refresh your hero points.
Okay. Then.
So the question is, do you want to spend this last point now?
Let me see. Odds here.
Ooh. What would you like to do?
I'm gonna spend it.
All right. What did you roll?
I got a 27. So that means I rolled a 10 with the bonuses and the case and everything. So I'm gonna have to roll higher.
Do you think you can do it? Is that what you're gonna go for?
I'm gonna try and go for it.
All right, let's go.
I got a natural 20.
Okay, so that's a crit. You get 2 over, and I will give you an extra piece of information for your critical. So, for the natural 20. So you are now at 16 out of the 15. Here's the big piece. As you start looking through the legal stuff, the debt that he actually took on wasn't gambling debt. Looking through all the legalities, it was a state debt.
Okay.
He owns the Everston Manor.
Okay.
That means that in all the legality, Everston was given this information. He now owns it. That means her last name is what?
Everston.
You got it.
Which means that Everston doesn't really have claim to the manor.
He has paperwork.
He has paperwork, but we don't know.
Right.
Okay. I'm definitely writing this in. This throws Everston's legal claim of the manor.
Right.
The manor.
Technically, he owns it. Now, you would have to do a separate research to find out, like, does he still own it? Was that back then? Where is it at now? That's a different thing. But you know that he owned or owns the rights to the manor. He's a Howitz. She was an Everston.
Okay.
With that critical, here's the bonus information I'll give you. When they left Sol Lazare, where is 10 miles south of here, they moved to Merrifield to wait to ship out to Moldavia to where the Howitzes are from. So instead of going to New Bolivar, they went to Merrifield. They did that specifically because of the estate that he now owned there, and it gave them a richer place to stay than what they had in New Bolivar. And there was a train station there for shipping and receiving for his business stuff. Okay. Specifically shipping Gales in silver in a armored vault car. Because when you ship things on a train, even if that train gets blown up, you don't want anyone getting into that.
Right. So they moved to Merrifield, wait for the transport, and then they did it for 2 reasons.
Yep, that is true.
Being large in the manor. And taking advantage of the train station to ship out hard currency.
You got it.
Okay. Via armed.
So,
cargo.
Really not much other information you can find out of the paperwork that Jack has brought to you. I would say you're probably here for like 5 hours looking through all this stuff, collecting it together. An hour per check, roughly. Okay. And because of that, he's like, "Hey, I'm going to be getting cut here pretty soon. I got to go. I haven't seen you in a long time. I got to be honest. I would like to catch up and eat, or if you don't want to eat, can I help you in this investigation at all?
I mean,
I could use a little bit of extra money if you need an assistant. Up to you. Totally up to Nora if she would involve somebody else.
I think considering that he gave her the classified info, she would at least have him help for more research or putting things together or whatever, and pay him for his time. She wouldn't necessarily be like, yo, come out into the dangerous areas with me. But
so you
hire him on as like a freelancer for extra.
Would you bring him back to the office then?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think he's been there before.
So then why don't we cut from here as you guys kind of wrap up, put everything together. He gets all the paperwork back. He's got a big smile on his face because you can tell he's trapped down in this area a lot, like doing his work. So he is super excited about doing it. He grabs his satchel bag that he has. He puts on a wool long coat because it's fucking winter and you guys are near the shores. So it's super cold. And he says, hey, I'll grab my stuff. Do you need a ride? Do you have a ride while you're in New Bolivar?
I just grabbed the taxi to get here.
Oh, no. I have a carriage now.
Wow. All right.
I have a coach. Yeah. Wait till you hear the story. It's great. And he like goes in the back, grabs stuff, and you guys walk up top. He's got a single horse, 2-man carriage that he can drive. Basically, you both sit on there together. It is all done in like a lacquered rich brown with gold trim. It's got one spotlight lantern that hangs, and he has a soul stallion to pull it. And then that has like the green smoke that comes out of it. He's like, so I found a relative of mine that had passed, and I found the relic, and I got him refettered to the stallion so that he can help me. I've been doing a lot of traveling, just kind of trying to see the world, so I'm not allowed back. You know who I am, so I can't go back. So I've decided to travel more of Ingrad. So I've been going up and down the coast traveling Ingrad. And he's got like wider tires on his carriage, and it's a single axle, 2-wheel. So it's kind of like the one that's held up by the horse. There's no front pieces on it. And he's like, and I've traveled a lot. I've been taking a lot of time off. I'm getting up there in age, even though he doesn't look it. And he starts driving you back to your PI office. So you guys get to the front door. There is a note that says 2 deliveries on the door, which you know that means they put it in the private box. It's locked, so you know to check it. Your mailman's pretty good about that stuff. And the note is inside. Actually, I shouldn't say it's on the door. It's inside because he wouldn't leave it out so people try to break in.
Right.
He parks the carriage out front. He checks in on the stallion, whispers something to it in Fae. I don't know if you speak Fae.
I grabbed Sylvan.
Sylvan? Okay, yeah, Sylvan. Same thing, same Sylvan. And he says, don't worry, darling, I'll be back soon. And he follows you into the office. So I will cut us there to the inside, and you've been waiting for a piece of documentation to get to you from Grigori, which is the family tree. So we are going to switch to that. So as we show up to Nora's place, open the door, she opens up her lockbox that everything gets dropped into, takes out all of her paperwork, and you and Jack sit down in your office in the back that you cleaned up last episode. And in the back room, as you unlock, I should say, the box that is given to you, or open it, there is a scroll case inside. When you take the caps off, it actually unrolls like a tapestry on the wall. So this tapestry that unrolls is made for a family tree, and you can see it is this old, think Sleepy Hollow tree, and it goes up, and when it gets towards the top, you see all of the vines and stuff. There are apples hanging on them, and it quickly strikes that those apples look really familiar.
Okay.
So, knowing that, Jack looks at it, he's like, man, this is a horrible family tree. Like, this is hideous. Who makes this? Well, the bottom is a really beautiful fresh tree, but when you get to the top, it gets corrupt. And you notice the top is every time the Howitz have married into something, it gets corrupted a little more and a little more.
Okay.
The very tips of the branches at the very tippy top of the family tree are silver tipped on the end. Nora, there's no role required. You can tell that this guy, or at least his family, is somehow involved in the cult of the Gorgon originally.
Okay.
But you do see the Everston tree line, which is the fresh, clean tree at the bottom that comes up, and they have married into the Everston family a few different times. Specifically, there is one name that stands out on the tree, no roll required, which is Loretta Everston.
We have so much conflicting information about Miss Loretta.
You do. At least 4 different versions of her.
Yep.
Now, give me a... What would be the right word for this? It wouldn't be legal lore. Give me a society check. I think that makes the most sense for this. You can use your deduction stuff that you get from Investigator. You don't get any help from Jack because you've left the research library and he's not helping you with this. This is just you piecing some stuff together.
Right. Let me just finish my notes here. Proof that they...
Yeah. Kelly's going to come back to the group in our live stream and be like, all right, everybody, before we start, here's all the bullshit.
I'm on page 3. I'm almost on page 4.
Yeah. Gotta love note taking. It's actually one of my favorite things to do.
So for anyone who's viewing this and they wonder, why is Kelly never really looking at the camera or anybody else? It's because I'm looking at my notes as I'm taking them. So I
Kelly needs to hide him behind her camera, so she's looking at the camera.
I've got our little thing set up like right above my notes, so I can't look at people on the cameras. But oh my gosh! All right.
So give me a society. You have not refreshed your hero points yet.
No, I haven't.
That will come in scene 3, if we get to scene 3. Depending on how it goes, Kelly might decide scene 3 needs to be the full party.
Depending on how this goes. So you said society, correct?
Yep, society check. This is about like the name Everston, seeing Loretta numerous times, things like that.
Yeah. Okay. I got a 30. I got an 18 on die.
If you see the same name numerous times, what does that usually mean? In a rich or in a family that is like Victorian time frame?
It means to me either they are naming someone with the same name to pass down the family line, or they have enough money to do name changes and hide people.
Okay. The first one
that's what
more
I'm
so. First one is more so. In Athontia, if somebody has passed, but the spirit is bound to something, that name stays. So Loretta technically could still be alive. If her family name is in the family tree numerous times, the only other option, Jack looks to you and goes, is she human? Or is she someone else? And her name's like in the tree like 3 or 4 times. I would say it would be in there 4 times. Loretta's name would be in there 4 times. It's like, is she human?
Well,
I can tell you if you look through your notes, you've never found out what ancestry she is.
we have rumors that she's
clues.
Sylvan.
Yep,
Clues.
there's clues that she's Sylvan. He goes, well, I mean, my mother is 205. So that would make it very feasible that maybe she's still alive or died much later. I don't know what exactly we're looking for, but I can tell you how a name would be that way. Or like you said, passed down, but usually they put first, second, or third behind it.
Right.
And that is not there anywhere. There's no like Loretta Everston the first, Loretta Everston the second. There are other names in the line though that are like that. There's like a Howard Everston first, second, things like that. There are other names in this family tree that show that.
Okay.
But the very earliest ones, one of Loretta, it says Loretta Everston, married to, where's it at here? Ligon Everston. Ligon is a pretty uncommon first name.
Yeah.
And he goes, there's a Ligon that used to be Earthguard in New Bolivar. He's old, man. He's like, I think he retired like 2 years ago, a year ago. I mean, he's probably pushing 80. He might have some information about this. Ligon's rare. Ligon in our world would be like, in real life, would be like naming somebody some made up fucking name. Like, it's very odd to see. He goes,
like Elon Musk's daughter or son or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. He goes, we could, I could go ask him if you want and come back while you're researching and see what I can find out.
If you
would. He'll at least talk to me because I still work for the yard.
Yeah, if you wouldn't mind, Jack,
Sure.
I've heard a lot of conflicting versions about Loretta since.
Well, so what do you tell him about Loretta? I guess that's probably a pretty important piece. Do you say anything? Do you give him any information about Loretta? Or are you going to send him off to deal with this and you're going to do it on your own? How much of this would you draw him into?
Like, the serial killer part was bad enough, but he's a cop and whatever. But now the fact that it's like we're dealing with the Everston estate, and I need to look into Everston's claim now to see if he actually does own the house, and the serial killer is potentially involved in the Everston family and estate. I'm kind of like, ooh, maybe I should keep Jack out so he can enjoy his retirement.
Okay.
So it's not Nora being like, I don't trust you. It's more for your safety. Like,
right. You think you're doing the right thing by not involving him too much.
Right.
100% understand you. Yeah. So Jack would be like, all right, hold, I'll get my stuff. He grabs everything. He grabs a satchel bag. He pulls a small notebook out that actually looks like this one. This like cloth style with like a bookmark out of it. And he writes down the names, writes down what it is, takes a little information off of that, takes some notes. He's excited because he's been stuck in a clerk's office for 30 years or so, 20 years or so. And he leaves.
That's the other reason she doesn't want to get him involved. Like, before everything happened in Merrifield, she was also stuck in the office for the most part. And now with everything going on, she's kind of like, I don't know if I could take care of him in the field because I don't know if I can. Or, God,
I wish I was still stuck in an office. So he heads off. So as you're looking over the family tree, I guess the question now that I have to ask is, are you going to open the chest that Grigori gave you?
Yes. I didn't open it when he offered it to me because that's kind of gauche.
Have you opened it before people see it on camera? Have you opened it already once or no? Like after he left, would you have opened it and looked at it, or did you just put it aside?
I think I put it aside because it was basically like as soon as he left, well...
I mean,
I don't think I would have opened it because remember I opened up the gifts and then the last gift I got exploded with black paint.
Sure, so it probably got left behind clean up. And I will say the time that you had the paint explode, there were days before you went and saw Oliver. So you definitely have some time in between right now. It's not like this was like back to back to back. This is in that 2-week window, whenever we want that to be.
So I think one of the reasons that Nora didn't open up the chest immediately was because, like I said, didn't want to open it in front of the employer to be rude. Then opened up the other packages. Everything got splattered with black ink. She was excited, but she also had to clean it up.
Right.
Then probably went to talk to Nevleen and find out what she found out there. Right. And then had enough money from the check that Jebediah had cut that she didn't really need to go look at the funds necessarily, whatever could be in the box.
Yeah, so now I'm not worried about it. Stop.
So now that it's like, okay, now I'm bringing Jack on. I might be paying him some freelancer fees. Let's see what I've got available to offer him.
So this black was black and silver with the Blackwell symbol on it with the ruby. And he gave you a key and you unlock it. When you open it up, there are 3 rubies lined up on the inside on this black felt. And they're kind of cushioned in there. So, they're sunk in like you would have jewelry. First glance at them, this is easily 6,000 gales worth of rubies.
Wow.
So there's 1 big one, 2 small ones. Big one's probably worth 3K by itself. The other 2 make up the difference. On the back of the lid, and the black felt that's there as well, when you because I know Nora, she feels the inside of the case, checks everything, pulls the gems out, checks them. You look underneath, there's just padding in it. But on the back side of the case, when you run your hand on it, there's a small bump. And you actually have to cut away the felt to open it.
Okay.
Are you willing to do that?
Yes, because he might have put something else in there that he didn't necessarily want to discuss with me at the time, like in case he was short on time or whatever. Or it could be a note from somebody else or someone trying to interfere. So I want to make sure it's not all of the above.
Okay. Are you searching for traps? Are you paranoid about it, or are you really not worried about it at all?
I would search it for traps out of an abundance of caution and respect for the Wraithmore family.
Give me a roll. Very fair assessment.
Like, I'm just saying.
Just saying it. They're not the nicest people, but they're not the worst people.
I got 26.
Okay, not trapped. Definitely hidden well, though. A normal person would not have seen this on a cursory glance. You saw it because of your training, because your passive perception is like 20-something, isn't it?
It's 22, yeah.
Yeah, so you need a 20 just to even notice it. So you take out a knife, your new pen knife probably, and slowly cut away at it. And when it folds down, there is a key. It looks like a skeleton key. It's really got a lot of filigree around the edge, and it has the Everston E in it with a green gem in between. So you got like, if you were to split the key in half, the gem is in the middle, and there's an Everston E on one side, but there's a Howitz H on the other side.
Okay.
Skeleton key is in pretty good shape. It is the key alone is probably worth like 100 gales, but it looks similar to Everston's key to the manor.
Okay.
There is no note. When you take the key out, behind it on the back of the box, there is the sword and the circle with the sun behind it.
Okay.
But there's no note there. That looks very similar to the brand that you currently have.
Yep.
Doesn't light up, your brand doesn't do anything, but just as a note that is there. You're semi-rich now.
Yes.
So, is there anything else you want to do in your office before Jack comes back? Is there any other research you would like to continue using the family tree as a role?
I would like to research and see if, and I don't know if this would necessarily be a role, but Olivine, I want to see if she's on either of these trees.
If who is?
The one I'm looking for, Olivie Howitz.
Okay, give me a roll.
Would that
see
be
if there's
perception?
a name hidden.
Yeah,
Perception check. 100%.
Yeah.
Again, you can use your lovely investigative deduction.
Right. I got 23.
Okay. So looking over it, you don't see that name together, the Howitz name. You do see an Olive Howitz. Only name, age-wise in the family tree, about the right time frame. You know, like she's after the sundering. She's in the black part of the tree right after it goes from the fresh, nice, I would say probably oak tree or something. What is it? Elm tree. Right before that, as it goes up and the branches go out on the elm tree, and it starts to rot and turn into the black. That is where the Olive name is, and it is the child of Howitz and Everston family marriage, which would make sense. You got a 23, right?
Yeah.
Okay. You also notice Bennett's name on there.
Okay.
Bennett Howitz. And that is a much more recent name. The family tree, it ended like, this version of it is probably 2 years old, 3 years old. So it's not totally up to date, but it definitely has all the people you would need in it.
Right.
All right. And that gives you one more check using the family tree, and you use perception, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So as that happens, you're kind of taking notes and writing everything down. Jack comes back, and he walks into the room, sets down his bag, walks into the back office, and he says, Ligon's not there. I checked. I asked his neighbors. He's been gone for some time. I guess he He left about a week and a half ago. I asked them what they would know about it. They say he keeps to himself and doesn't say a lot. But they did mention that he has been meeting with a woman. I don't really know the best way to explain this issue to you, so I'm just gonna give it to you straight. The woman that he has been seeing is at least a quarter his age, in her 20s. She arrives by rooftop. She does not arrive normally. She doesn't come through the city streets. And they say every time she leaves behind a plant for this gentleman. And it looks like this. And he pulls out his book and he's got a sketch that he did while he was there. And it looks just like the plants in your office.
All right. That's certainly...
I've never seen this before. I mean, I'm not an herbalist. I don't deal in plants a lot, but this is definitely not a normal plant. I noticed that it was facing the sun, and during the time I was there as I was leaving, I rolled a 25. He noticed that it followed the sun very well. He's like, when I stared at it, I swear I saw it move, and I don't think that's normal.
No, it's not.
Granted, this world is not normal, so I don't expect normalcy everywhere. But I definitely expect normalcy with plants.
No, I've run into something similar in Merrifield.
Now, did Nora bring that plant with her here at all, or did she bring any to like plant here so she would have the same protection in this office? Like, would that be something Nora would be like, oh, that thing protected my office. I'm gonna put one here.
I think in the past, she wouldn't have. Nora is definitely on a different trajectory than she used to be. So yes, she would have brought a part of it with her.
How long has it been planted for? Like a week?
I think I would have planted it as soon as like we... So I think like she would have had like a little cutting.
Yep.
Because like with her, like in case something happened and she needed to use it as like some sort of protective ward or something like during their mission. So she didn't bring it with her specifically to put into her office, but she had it with her in case they needed it while they were on their mission.
Well, I would say if you planted it,
so then she would have planted it.
It would have grown.
She would have planted it and then fed it in her office, knowing now, or at the time thinking, okay, Oliver's definitely under investigation. I don't want people trying to break into my office, et cetera, et cetera.
So he's like, and it looks like this. And he's like reading over and he looks at you and you're like, yeah, I've seen him. And he like turns and looks to like the windowsill in the room. And it's like grown up around the window. You've trimmed it to keep it from like taking over the place.
Right.
Which is going to come to a question of when you go back to Merrifield, how often you come back to make sure this thing doesn't go, hey, every window in the place. And he looks at it and then looks at you and goes...
I would have tried to have a conversation with it at one point, like, hey, man.
Right.
Don't grow too crazy.
Yeah, nope, doesn't, that's not, nope, not that kind of intelligence. He looks at it and looks at you and goes, are you the girl?
No. Also,
what is that?
I don't look that young.
Yeah, well, I mean, these are neighbors. Do you know how profiling works? Someone says 10 and they're 42.
This is some of the proof that I had brought back with me to continue my investigations.
I am gonna need a diplomacy. Versus, I don't have to roll. It's versus his DC, I forgot.
Yeah.
As he's trying to like read and see if you are pulling one over on it. Because now he's like, wait a minute. Am I gonna get killed? Like...
Right. Diplomacy, big yikes. I got a 16.
He goes, Nora, I feel I should excuse myself for this before I question our friendship. I don't know how deep you are into this, but until it's solved, I think the less I know maybe actually the better now.
That's fair. Do you at least want payment for the time that you were here?
Nope. No payment. Because, again, I don't want to be involved in case you're lying to me, which I really sincerely hope that's not the case. but I don't know how to read you right now. You don't eat. You don't really drink anymore. And you explained it. I understand that you explained it. And they said there's a girl who's there and you have the flower here. It seems weird. And he like tears out the page in his book and gives it to you. He's like, I want to be separated from this. We're friends, but this case, I think doing my job as someone who's part of the yard would be to not be involved because it is too personal for me.
I understand.
And he turns around and walks out and he like puts his bag on and walks out. Now he's like looking at your entire office because you would.
Right.
And he walks out the front door. When he leaves, the flowers, while you're looking, have grown out and around the wall, up and around the doorway as he was exiting in a matter of like moments. You know, last time you saw them do this, there was a person hanging from them, and they are growing through the office into the front room, chasing after him.
I'm going to touch them or touch like the main root or whatever and say no.
I need a nature check.
Ooh. Cool.
Cool story, bruh.
My nature is 3.
I know. It's not good. What would...
it's still going to probably end up with him dying, but I got a 16.
So you touch it and it stalls for a minute. As it stalls, he gets to the front door and it shuts on the vine. And a flower falls out the front door. And he looks back at it as you, I'm assuming, move forward through your place following.
Right, trying to make sure it doesn't do anything.
And as you like shut the door and like that classic like shut and reopen it and you grab the flower and shut the door.
Yeah.
Are you saying anything to him or are you just shutting the door and acting like nothing happened? How would Nora handle? Because Nora's never been under this kind of like scrutiny that I know of.
Right. I think she would just apologize. Like, sorry for the inconvenience kind of deal.
Okay. He looks at you and goes, okay. I'm glad to see that everything is all right. Have a good day, Nora.
You too.
And he turns around and leaves. Horse starts up with the carriage. You hear the of the soul, and it heads out. Okay. With all this information, the only place left to look for clues would be going either to the Everston Manor with the key, or finding where the H goes to, and that's probably either Moldavia, or the closest place would be Solazir. And that's where her family's from, Loretta's, which also makes sense why Solazir and Merrifield are so close. Like that could work.
Right.
Up to you, Nora, if that is something that you would like to do by yourself. I am set up for it, but I'm giving Nora the straight up option to be like, I don't want to do this by myself. If you do go, I will let you reset your hero points.
Let me just finish typing up these notes.
All right.
I may have, like my notes say, I may have ruined my relationship with him, but at least he didn't get insta-gibbed by my new plan.
This is true. Nora's going to have to release her entire season of notes. Edit them all into a small novella and put them out as a Penny Dreadful.
Right. For them with a note that hopefully I can repair it. So, like, in talking to him, he thinks I'm the person?
He is separating himself before he can think anything.
Cool. Okay.
He's definitely nervous about it. He's never seen it, but this connects dots in a way that makes him definitely not want to be part of the case because he doesn't want to draw that conclusion more than he already is.
Right.
If you catch the person free and clear, it's definitely a professional understanding that just happened. Right. Not I'm going to go tattle on you. That's not the indication you got. But now if your name shows up in a paper because you're investigating this stuff, or maybe the whisper crashing and then he starts figuring that stuff out, he may start trying to piece his own case against you. until proven otherwise.
I mean,
You would do the same thing.
yes. Afterwards, I'll tell him, like, the reason I was being so cagey is because I was hired by people who are not very nice.
I mean, so agreed, but right now that is where we're going to leave him.
Yeah.
So, does Nora want to go investigate this? It is a crushed city. If you go during the day and you go when the tides aren't high, you should be fine, especially with a lantern. Rent a carriage. Ask the yard for one, since you can technically ask the yard for stuff because of your badge, and you can say, "Hey, I need one for investigation," or Nora can buy herself one.
I think I'm gonna rent one for right now. Like, I feel like it'd be super suspicious if I just start buying things outright, especially after what happened in my office with Jack.
Okay, so you rent
make sure
a
that-
carriage.
To make sure that he doesn't, like, put more things together that actually aren't true.
So then I think the camera would cut to you renting the carriage. We'll just do like a quick cut through. You show up to rent the carriage. It is 2 silver pieces a day for a driver. If you want to have a driver.
Because I'm unsure what the skill would be for driving it, I guess I would have to rent a driver.
Driving is nature if it's a living animal, or you can use occult or religion if it is a souled animal, if it's a fettered animal.
I think then, depending on the rates, I would get a fettered wagon.
Okay.
Because my occult is pretty good, and also that's one less living person to put at risk.
All right. So
If I have a driver.
you're up for one. A Soul Stallion is the same fee because Soul Stallions are semi-intelligent because there's a soul. They have all theirs are horses. They're bound to them. And you fetter them to it and get ready to head out. So the city, is there anything else you're going to purchase before you go? Or do you think you got everything?
So we did this off screen, but obviously I've purchased the War Lantern.
Yep.
With
The Dawn Lantern, the Dawn War Lantern, yeah.
And then I've got a Salt Spike.
Okay.
In case I run into any spirits.
Good possibility.
In this, I think I would buy some lesser healing potions because I will be out by myself.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
And I mean, I can perform medicine on myself, but I can only use that once an hour in battle medicine. So
as long as the potions are level 3 or lower in New Bolivar, you can get them at regular cost. If they're 4 or higher, they're double. If you were back in Merrifield, you can get 4 or higher at standard cost, but
right.
So purchase however many you want, and I'll set us up for the next scene. I'm not really too worried about it. I mean, I'm not worried about how many you purchase. I know you're rich now, so I'm not worried about how you have money. And we have enough squalls thanks to the Merrifield Town Hall that you're good to rock and roll. So, with that said, you get in the carriage. It's a single person, 2 carriages, like a side by side. There is storage in the back to bring your gear, things like that. Do you rent a covered one or do you rent an open carriage? Covered basically would still be the 2-seater, but you sit back over an overhang, and then there'd be an area you can get inside of that would be like a single sleeper, basically like a semi.
I would rent the covered to protect any evidence that I may get.
Okay. So 1 more silver a day for the covered.
Okay.
And it's only a 10-mile ride. Easy to do in a day. I think you can travel, I think it's 8 miles a day. Hold on here. I can tell you right now, you'll be there in 1 day regardless. Travel time, travel speed. They travel at 40. Miles per hour is 4. So you will be there in roughly 2 to 3 hours.
Okay.
So you can go there and back in a day. So I'm assuming you leave the next morning when it's daylight out because you spent so much time researching. Rest for the evening. You get your hero points back and you make your ride out. The ride is clean. It is along the coast. There are some tides that will go up to you. But with your lantern and the lantern that's on it, it pushes the weaker tides away without any problem. And as the black kind of inks around as you're going over one of the bridges coming into the city, I will transfer us to the map. This is the map of Sol Azir. You are coming in from the west. West on this map is the left-hand side, over on this side here. So you'd be probably coming down through the road that comes in here. All the roads that come in are kind of shot. There's water that comes through. You can see a big lock that raises and lowers, but the city is surrounded by what looks like this used to be a marsh around the outside edge, but now it's just soggy, black, ichory, dark tide tainted soil. Think of it like potting soil. Like you could push your hand in it, you sink in it. The wagon has a little bit of a rough time through it. You do plot your way through the little bit of cobblestone that comes through. But the wagon is not going to be able to travel in the city very well. Because once you're in the city, stepping, it sinks up to almost your knee.
All right.
So you could park it somewhere on the edge of the city over here, wherever you would like. And I would just say drag your token down, and I will resize your token. And I will get us ready to go. So I'm going to put a couple things here. This gentleman here. I'm going to put him here. This is, actually, I won't put him here. I'm going to scroll down instead. This gentleman here is Ligon, the gentleman that is missing. So you know what he looks like. There's really no question on that. He is a friendly, he was really good Earthguard at the time. He is retired. If he is in this direction at all, this is what you'd be looking for. That is a main piece. Now, the other thing I'm going to put up that you now know, because you have been doing a lot of looking into stuff, and you can do what you want with this. This gentleman here, put him to your lair. That is Mr. Howitz.
Okay.
Mr. Howitz is a pacted. He is touched. Although he has went through many interrogations and investigations over the year, he is not found to be really corrupt, well, any more corrupt than a banker. He's never done any evil acts. He has no criminal charges against him or anything. He does have the horn protrusions and the whole 9 yards. So he would be a tiefling, or at least heritage of a tiefling of some form. First time in Athonti, I think we've ever talked about tieflings. Now, we also have this guy. This here would be one of the Duncombes.
Okay.
Specifically, Fayus the Third. Also, tiefling heritage. And last but not least, the description of what you believe to be Olivia, or Olivine.
So this picture of Mr. Duncombe, was that from the gentleman that was murdered in...
Correct.
Merrifield? Okay.
Correct. But he didn't have the horns. Same exact face. I need a occult check from you to start off our time in the city.
Okay.
Make sure that I am showing the right section. Here we go.
Just make sure. There we go. I got 23.
So if someone is a follower of a keeper, and they are someone who has binding, like binding magic, they can hide their traits.
Okay.
It's possible if this guy was a follower of a keeper, not a follower of the true faith, they buried him improperly. Or the true faith just didn't tell you, because honestly, they don't have to tell you if this person was of a pacted bloodline. But that means that if they are pacted and they are binders and worshipers of a deity and they have horns like this, with a little bit of research at a library, you might be able to find out what keeper they're following.
Okay.
Possibly. So that brings us to the city.
And now, okay, Olive also has those horns.
She does. So Olive, which is what you're guessing her name is, or at least what her public persona would be, not the name that Grigori gave you, because just like Grigori's real name is probably Gregory.
Right.
The city is large. It is in ruins. A lot of the walls here are old brick, like red brick, that are stained on the side facing the water, which is the east side. The east side is the part that is over here. I will scroll this up so this is on map for everybody. Now we know who everybody is. The east side over here. That there is probably where most of the tides wash in, where the rot happens, where the blight happens, affects everything, and is where you are on the map over here in this tiny little section. All the walls have kind of corroded and fallen over time. Scouring through this place with the daylight lantern, everything is half movement unless you are on a bridge or in a building. Okay. The buildings have solid floors still. So it is a slow trudge through this place. Anywhere where you see this darkness are pools of tides.
Okay.
Including the riverway, which is all tides. All right? And they don't really seem to flow at all. They're stagnant. And you've seen this before. When the tides go in, if there's pits left behind, they leave behind dark tides. For you, a day in the park. You're used to seeing this kind of stuff.
Right.
When you rode in, and sitting a little higher when you came up on the road coming down into here, on the back side over in this section, there is a series of buildings that are still, they seem to be intact, or if not intact, they've been repaired. Now in ghost towns, a lot of times people come in, move in, and try to survive here because it puts them outside the taxation of the true faith. Survivors, bandits, things like that usually take over this kind of stuff. Cultists are common as well.
Okay.
All the other buildings are in pretty disarray. You could search through them if you want to take the time. I will allow you a perception check to basically sweep through all the buildings, but it will take you an entire day to do so. Is that something Nora would do?
Since this is happening while I still think the trial is gearing up and I would need to be called in as a witness.
You probably have a week before the trial starts, I'll say, roughly.
Okay.
So you have time.
I think before Merrifield, she wouldn't have, but I think now she would. Because she doesn't have to stop to eat or drink. She just has to rest.
Okay. How much time do you want to take? Here's how I'm going to do this. If you take 1 day, the DC is a 25. If you take 2 days, it's a DC 20. If you take 3 days, it's a DC 15. Higher chance, though, that each day that you're searching, you will encounter something if you take the 3 days versus the 1. If you do the 1 day, you encounter no problems. You do your search, come back with something, either you do or you don't find it.
Okay. I am going to... I will do...
And obviously using your carriage as a base of operations.
Right. I will do the 1 day.
All right, you're going for that DC 25. Mm-hmm. Let's do this.
Yes.
This would be included as part of your investigation. So you will get your investigation bonus.
Right. Just make sure my negative resistance is updated. Yep. Okay.
Just in case.
Just in case I have to swim in some pools or something, I've got negative energy too.
I mean, don't worry. We only have 8 victim cards that have been played.
You only have 8. It's fine.
All right.
I got it. I actually got a 12 on the die.
Okay, so 25. So searching through this place, how would you sweep this place? What is Nora's idea of sweeping a compound, like a city? If you know that this up here is the only standing buildings that look like they may be in use, how would Nora sweep this place? What is her way of handling this kind of stuff? Because she's operated on her own for many years. Yeah,
so I think she would sweep the place that looks to be the most inhabited first. To basically hoping that human familiarity or siren or whatever humanoid thought process would be, if there are people here, even if they're hiding, they would want to be in like a dry, defensible area. So she would definitely start with this area first. And then if she found nothing, then she would see if there were any tracks leading to one of these other more dilapidated areas. Or in this case, knowing what she knows about the vines and the possible keepers involved, she would look for plant matter similar to what she has in her office.
Okay, makes sense. All right. As you search through the place and go from building to building, you do find a few locked doors here and there. Do you test this key on doors as you walk through? That would be my first question for your successful check.
If there are any houses, and this is asking a lot, so if I need to make another roll, let me know. If there were any houses that had either the E filigree or the H filigree or anything that looked like it could have been a stately manor, then yes. If it was something that looked like it was a normal office or home or whatever, shanty town.
So I can tell you that all of these buildings look like they were once manors. You're guessing this is the rich part of town, and that the rest of the town on the outskirts has been pretty much washed away from decay. Because the tides, as they hit buildings over time, a lot of them age buildings into just rubble. So with that said, these have survived the test of time. So 57 years, these manors are still surviving. These are probably the edges of the rich zone, the rich district, and the rest of them are in still pretty good shape. So yeah, all of these are manorly. If you're looking for something that's an E with that 25, there is an Everston E laying on a gate outside of this building in the north.
Outside of this one. Okay.
Yep. You can mark on here, draw on it, do whatever you want to do. Totally fine. Doesn't matter. This is your side quest map.
All right. A green. That's not really a green. Whatever. All right.
Do whatever you think works. I can give you pins if you want pins to put around the map.
Pins might be more useful.
Okay, I'll get the pins out while you're doing that. So as you're investigating and looking through this building, there are two doors that are still standing, that are locked, and there's no way into those rooms. If you use the key, sure enough, a little bit of work, the first one pops open. Inside this room is a storage area with a bunch of crates with the Everston E on them, and they look super similar to the stuff that were in the basement of the Everston Manor.
Okay.
Do you take the time to go through the stuff? Do you note it in its smaller boxes and a couple bigger boxes, but not enough room on your carriage to take them all back with you? Would you go through them, or would you take note to come back and get them? How would Nora do it?
Knowing that there might be a gentleman out here who is injured and needs assistance and may need to sit in the back, I won't take anything right now. I'll definitely make a note that these are things I might need to come back to recover. But I want to make sure I have enough room for Flagon if I find him. Okay.
So I'm going to make a couple of these pins for you. I will make them large enough that you can move them around easily. And we will move them to the token layer. Can you see that? A pin? Is it on your layer? No, it's not. Now it is. I was like, why can she not see this thing? All right, so here you go. Now you got a pin. I will name this, and I will duplicate a couple of them for you. And you'll be able to move them and put them wherever your little investigative heart desires.
Okay.
So I will put controlled by all players, and there you go. So let me make a couple copies of it. There you go. And you can move those wherever you would like.
Okay.
I'm going to move this to the map layer for you. There you go. All right. So with that said, as you mark the areas on the map, there are a dozen boxes, 5 big, the rest are tiny. The smallest one is about this big. You're saying you're opening none of them? You're just going to close the door, lock it, and make note?
I'll open one big one and one tiny one.
So a big one is a bunch of sculptures. similar to the bust of Everston.
Okay.
But they're full size, like they're almost to human proportion. And you kind of like pry it open and look inside, and it looks like a bust of a person.
Okay.
There's no manifest in this room at this point, though. Any paper that's in here is pretty rotten. Even like the packing slips that are on them are deteriorated from the tides that have seeped in here.
Right.
But the rest of this is good. And you notice that the packages inside all the corners are waxed and tarred, so nothing can get into them. Usually that's done for shipping on water, but you know that kind of shipping that they did for things that were shipped on water also keep tides out. So it just happens to be a great thing that worked pre-sundering that still keeps things survived through history.
All stuff, right?
You can put them wherever the hell you want.
I think I accidentally linked them all.
No, just select off of them way off to the side and you'll be able to grab them individually.
Nope.
If you select them all, right-click them, you can ungroup
Okay,
them.
I got it. Go.
So as we move to the next room and you pop the lock, as soon as you pop the lock, you hear the sound of a groan of a spirit. And just like a from down the hall as you open the door.
Okay.
Do you open the room or deal with the spirit? How would you handle that as Nora?
So I opened up one of the big ones and one of the small ones.
Yep.
Did I miss the description for the small one, or was that?
Oh, no, the small one, when you open it up, there is a necklace in it with a locket. Inside, there are two pictures. One is of a little baby, no name or anything like that. And the other one is of a cat.
Okay. That's not Calliope, is it?
It looks similar.
Okay. Looks like.
It looks very similar.
Okay. I hear spirit. I think I'm just gonna try to stealthily
Get away?
into that second room.
Okay, give me a stealth check. This would be the difference of having to deal with this creature or not.
I didn't say it before, but in my notes I typed that I swapped out my Thieves' Tools bandolier for my Lesser Ghost
Sure.
bomb bandolier.
And I'm going to move you over to the building we're moving through. Yep.
All right. Okay.
Specifically, the room is this one here that you're now going into.
Why could I have gotten more of these rolls during my investigation or, talking to...
Because survival by yourself is more important.
Also true. I got 31.
Okay, so you duck into the room, unlock it, shut the door. It doesn't make much noise. This is still in really good shape. When you go into this room and turn around, there are just paintings of Loretta all over the inside of this. Throughout, not just the decades, but the centuries that she has been alive.
Span.
You're guessing at least 2,000. That would be my rough guess, looking at like the dates. Like some of these dates are things where you're like, you even have to go, okay, math, pre-sundering. This painting's like about 2,000 years old.
Okay. Cool. That's great.
When that happens, the oldest painting turns and looks at you. And you see the ghostial visage that we see in the intro to Dark Tides in that back painting. And then it flickers and it's the white veil. And there's a very soft tone of Sylvan that comes into the room. And she says, well, if it isn't the people from my manor in Merrifield, as the rest of your companions here?
No, they're not.
Very dangerous to be in my hometown.
I understand that.
Are you in danger yourself?
I'm unsure. I'm hunting a serial killer who may be taking refuge in your hometown.
There's a flicker of it, the veil going away, and that like decayed green skin and sunken features as the face starts to push against the painting, and you can start to see the features of the woman in the canvas pushing forward. Her voice goes from that soft Sylvan to something a little harsher, and she's like, "What do you mean? My town is in danger."
I don't know if your town is in danger, ma'am. I think that someone may be taking refuge here while they are committing crimes in Merrifield.
Who?
I'm gonna tell her, like, I'm not gonna lie to this crazy ghost that may be alive for like 2,000 plus years. I'm maybe reckless sometimes, but I like to live.
You're not Oliver. We know that.
Yeah, not Oliver. So
Oliver.
I'm gonna tell her, like, I believe it might be. I don't know if she's a descendant of yours, but her name was on the family tree, Olivie Howitz.
And she like starts to fade back into like the normal, beautiful, elven looking features she has. And she says, "Olivine, yes, not descendant, relation through marriage. I was one of my husband's children."
Well, as I said, I am hunting a serial killer, and I believe that they have taken refuge here. I have reason to believe that she is the one that is committing crimes in Merrifield, as the crimes she committed in Moldavia have the same MO.
Now, she seems calm at this moment. What is your passive? You said 22?
Yeah.
Do you have anything extra for like sense motive or anything like that?
No, it would be a 23 right now because this entire area is part of my investigation.
Okay.
You know
23.
what I mean?
So, yep. So she seems calm right now. You know that pressuring a ghost from not just your studies, but time traveling with Voss, pressuring them and causing their emotional state to change can be dangerous. That's when you start to see the bad parts of a spirit come out, or the most powerful parts. She seems calm. The voice that's out in the hall vanishes, disappears, whatever that is. It doesn't find you because you made a successful stealth check against a fucking ghost. She would move from the painting she's in, and you would see her actually walk to the next painting. And that painting is covered and it shakes, and the canvas or the cloth that's over it drops. And she's standing in there next to a painting of herself with a kid that looks like Olivine on it, with the horns. As Loretta takes her fingers and traces it behind the kid, and the horns appear. Okay. And she goes, "My ex-husband believed in being immortal, to live with me forever. It was not something I recommended, but he made this." And she circles the head of Olivine, and then it burst into green fire. I did not agree. I told him to get rid of her before horrible things happened. And you're telling me that she is still alive?
I received reports stating that she had escaped a transport convoy. I haven't had a chance to look into it yet, but I assume it was an airship because the trains between Kadra and Moldavia have been having issues. The belief is that she escaped this convoy, whether it was a train or an airship or, something by Soul Stallion. She escaped on this side of...
Okay. I see. Nora, I'm going to need a diplomacy check from you. There's already been one diplomacy check with Loretta back in the manor when she was looking through the window with Everston. He may not remember it, but my book does.
Okay.
I need you to give me a diplomacy check. We have a running total for influence with her. Actually, I shouldn't say diplomacy. Let me back up. You gave her information. What skill do you think you want to use with her? You have not done a study on her.
No.
You don't know what skill would be the best to use with her, but a success is a success no matter what skill you have. The DC is just varied for influencing things.
Right.
You know, she is a spirit out of time. She's
I know
well, not out of time, hasn't traveled.
Right. She's a spirit that hasn't traveled. I know she is potentially a very dangerous and powerful woman. I do not want to lie to her, and I do not want to try and threaten her. So I would be using diplomacy.
All right, give me a diplomacy check. Let's see. This isn't Nora's hot suit, but we'll see what you get.
It's not.
It's not the worst.
I got a non-natural 20.
She doesn't get angry. She looks at the kid. The fire dies out and the horns burn back away, putting the painting back to what it was. She moves back to her painting as your eyes follow. And she settles back into the chair she was in and back into the state of what the painting was. There's a voice that remains and echoes and says that you should speak with me in the matter. Speaking here is draining. And she goes back into that rested canvas state. You do not anger her, but you don't get anything out of her. You do get a lot of knowledge seeing this room. There are a total of 30 paintings of her in this room, all different sizes, scales, from tiny pocket paintings to amulets to relic pieces that are there that may or may not be fettered, to large, huge paintings of her in the chair like you see now, which is the oldest. Are you going to gather these and bring them back to the wagon? Or circle the wagon around? Or are you going to continue your search and lock the door back up?
I am going to... This feels like it's too important to not bring something with me. So I would grab something that's smaller, using the forensics kit in my detective's kit. I would grab something smaller that would be easy to transport. And then I would lock it up behind me.
There's a locket. There's like a small painting on a frame. There's one that's maybe like 8 inches that you could easily put in a bag, that is mirrored. And there's a painting of her behind the mirror, like you're looking through a window. That's the concept for it. Give me I actually would need, do you have fettering at all?
I do not have fettering as a skill, no.
Give me an occult check to see which one of these would be the strongest bond to her. That would probably make the most sense, because you'd want to bring back one that maybe you could speak to her again if it's needed.
Right, that way she's not traveling all the way over here. Or
you got it. Or if she's, you don't know, she might be somewhere in the Everston Manor too.
Right.
You've seen her in a window before.
I got a 28.
The small 8-inch one that's the window looks exactly like the window in the Everston estate. That is probably the best one out of all these, short of the one that says 2000 on it. You know, that really, like, it would be minus, it'd be PS 8,075, I think is the year. That one would, but that is a 60-inch tall painting.
Okay.
I don't know if that's something you want to bring.
Okay,
it would fit in your wagon. It just would take up some space.
There's the 8-inch one, and then you said that the best one, though, is like the 60-inch one?
60 by 40. It's a big piece. It's almost the size of her sitting in a chair, roughly. Like perspective-wise and distance-wise.
Okay, so as long as nothing goes wrong, which is definitely not going to happen, I'm going to take the 8-inch one first.
Okay.
And I will, depending on how the rest of this goes, when I leave, if I have room for it, I will come back and get the bigger one.
Okay, perfect. So you search the rest of this area, and you've searched all the buildings in that one day, successfully sweeping, knowing like this is what this would be, looking at the architecture, grabbing all the pieces that you need of information, making all your notes. You finally make your way over to the set of 4 buildings that have been rebuilt. They have been re-roofed. They're not in the best shape. And the mud around them, while being that dirt being substantial, it's not enough to sink and stop you from moving. Now, I will say, someone has reinforced the black lines you see between the buildings are pieces of stone they've put in place to kind of make a barrier to box in the dirt so that it's not sinking as far. It sinks a couple inches, but not like the other stuff. And there are footprints between all of the buildings.
Okay.
Where would you like to move in on this? Which building would Nora investigate first, looking from the outside?
And so it's, I'm sorry, is it this one again?
Right here. It's in between these. Yep.
Okay,
About right here.
All right.
Yep, you got it.
The Everston holding pin that way.
The Everston holding pin. That's funny.
Well, I mean, that's what it is on my little sketchy map of,
Yeah,
it's like a pretty map. It's got like one block that says Everston holding on it.
Yep.
If I don't see anyone out there,
Give me a perception. First action.
let me see if there's anybody out here, because
Okay.
if not, then I think I'll know where I want to go. But
Okay.
I got a 20.
So 2 of the 4 buildings have smoke coming out of the tops. It's faint, but it is there. Those are the 2 buildings on the left. There's more smoke coming out of the bottom left than the top left. On top of that, the bottom left building, there are vines growing on the outside of the building, and it is the only place you've seen with actual plant life going through this entire city. The DC is much easier. If you wouldn't have done the entire city, it would have been much, much harder to notice that, because there are dead vines throughout the buildings.
Okay.
These are alive. You don't see blossoms on them or anything like that, but they are living vines. You do notice that there are skylights in that building.
Okay.
There's a little bit of a glint that you get a reflection off of some of the glass at the top of this building. Nothing else in this entire place has had like full windows working anymore. Most of them are like fogged over, cracked, destroyed from getting hit by the tides over and over again.
Okay.
What would you like to do?
I don't see anyone living, but there is signs of life with the smoke.
Yep.
Oh man, I'm gonna take a look at this garden that seems to have been built up, unless I misunderstood.
The one in this building?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can. It's basically along the outside edge of the building on this back side here. There's a small fenced in area. These are the gates where you see the 2 squares. Those are gates to get in. The fence has been repaired numerous times. The walls are not high. They're about 4 foot. They're not white picket. They are solid stone, but they have been repaired. And the garden grows through here on this back side of the building.
Okay.
So I will move this over to there, and I will zoom us in a little bit. All right. Backside of that building is full of, like I said, garden, bushes, you name it. Are you going to go look for something specific? What exactly are you looking for?
So, let me just see that for right now. Excuse me. So for this building, the reason I wanted to go investigate the garden is to see if there's any dead bodies buried in there.
Oh, okay. That's not exactly what I thought you were doing.
Well, I mean, I wanted to see, like, investigating the garden, I wanted to see if there were any plants similar to what I now have in both of my offices.
Right.
And knowing that these plants were sprouting from the victims or taking over them when they were killed, trying to see if there's any similarities with the plants that sprouted out of the letter opener when Grigori showed it to me.
Mm-hmm.
And then because I know that this person has been killing people and we now have a missing retired detective.
Yup.
I want to see if she's maybe, or if they're being used as mulch.
Okay, these are all really astute observations. I 100% see where you're going with this. as you walk around the corner of this place, there are a line of those red plants, the vines. They are trimmed, maintained, but they are pointing at the sun. On top of that, there are two brownish yellow bushes and green ones on each end. It would look almost like a landscaped place inside of a city that is active. Nothing else looks like this. The soil is fresh. There is rocks around the plants to keep them from overgrowing. And there are, like I said, the two bushes on the ends and the two yellow ones in the middle. When you round the corner, feel free to put your character over here. I will resize her for it.
Yeah, I was just kind of like, well, like.
Let me resize you.
If they need fuel, they need food.
It makes total sense.
So
You notice the very first thing you notice is in the wall where the vines are, there is a body grown into the vines on the wall. And they grow through him, on him, you name it. And I will bring him to the token layer for you. And he looks just like the gentleman you were looking for.
Okay.
What do you want to do?
You said it's a body and the vines have grown through him. This is going to
Grown
be
through him.
a silly question, perhaps, but is
Sure.
he actually breathing? Is he alive?
I would need a medicine check.
Okay, there's let me just catch up on my notes again. It's a lot harder when it's just me.
Don't worry, it's going to come out. You can just rewrite your notes.
Oh, that's true. There's a body trap. The vines. It's again.
But you are trained in medicine, right? Are you expert?
I'm expert.
Yeah, you need to be an expert for it, so. You already made most of the things that I needed you to make without making a fucking roll through deduction, so. This is a good question.
I got a 29.
Yes, he is breathing. It is slow. If you would have been a day later, he would be dead.
So it's kind of like when that detective broke into my place in Merrifield.
You got it.
Okay.
That means he's been here for about a week, you're guessing? Because that's about how long your guy was there.
Right.
But one more day, so if you would have taken 3 days to search this place or 2 days, he'd be dead.
Okay.
Faint breathing, the vines grow through him, out of his skin, out of his mouth, around his eyes. But with that check, you crit. Behind him, there is a window, and you can see into the building. By pushing vines aside and looking, they don't attack you at all. They're not malicious like that because you're not doing anything threatening, and they're already feeding.
Right. It's not like I'm trying to burn them or whatever or break into the house yet.
So let me drag the top away. Oops. I don't want both of them. I just want this one. And let me move this to the back. So, the inside of the building, you can see that. Through that, it is an experimental lab. There are pieces of earth growing everywhere, plants growing everywhere. Plants are all over all of the benches on the west side of the wall. Across the way here, there is an ether graph.
Okay.
Inside the building. The door opens on the south part of the wall. You see a woman walk through. And she looks like this. And as she walks through,
Hello.
she doesn't look at the window at all. She goes across to the ether graph. And she starts to speak to something just out of view of the window. Turns to her left, talking to it. What languages did Nora have? This might be one of those times where Nora knowing all of her languages, it might save her butt.
It's probably not going to be anything I have, but I don't know if they're clicking, so I'm going to just say them. Cadraic, Hollow, High Cadraic, Deep Speech, Vulgar, and Sylvan.
Oh, wow. Sylvan would be the language, and there are hints of Cadraic in her voice with a Moldavian overtone. Like she obviously has a Moldavian accent. But in Sylvan, she turns and she says, I know you are hungry. I fed you once. I will feed you again, but we need more people. We need more bodies. And living out here, we're not going to find them. We can't keep hiding here. And she starts to fire up the ether graph. What would Nora like to do?
Ooh, I think I'm going to, I can't believe I'm doing this. I'm going to wait and see who she talks to with the ether graph. Like, I know that compared to like the ones in New Bolivar and the ones that we've been using, I won't be able to hear like what's coming in from the other side, but I can take note as to who she's reporting to and see if I can get anything that way.
From where you are, she's blocking the ether scope. It's basically like a green stained glass piece in a frame with cables that come out of it, and she's blocking the screen at the angle you're at. If you were on the rooftop, you could probably see it really well because it has the skylights. Okay. And you can see, I left it down below so you can kind of see. You can see it in the skylight here.
Right. I guess I'm going to try and make it to the rooftop then. Definitely going to try and avoid these vines though.
If you go to a corner of a building, you can try to climb out without having the vines in your way.
Yeah.
Give me, are you snapping suspenders or are you just climbing?
I'm going to just climb for now.
All right, give me a roll. I don't think you're gonna have a problem, but critical failure is what I want to know about.
Right. I got a 25.
So you climb up over, give me your stealth to creep over. Actually, we'll use passive stealth because you're not interacting with her. What's your passive stealth?
My passive stealth is 22.
Okay. So she starts typing away. On the screen, a face pops up, and you see the picture of this gentleman. And I will bring him over onto screen, shrink it down a bit. And in Hollow, which I know you speak, she says, Dad, I can't keep hiding here. You have to bring me home. The job's done. And through the ether, you would hear a voice come back a few moments later. Daughter, I love you, but your job is not done. You need to finish the task, even if you don't want to. I will bring you home as soon as you do. She's like, but Dad, I escaped like you asked. I've done my job. He is with me. Let's go home. I found him. We have bonded. Let's go home. It's like, I can't. You have to finish the job. They are not all given to our keeper. It's like, I know that, but the keeper chose someone else, Dad. I am not it. So you still carry the mark. You are still touched by him. Trust me when I say he will bless you if you finish the job. When he says that, vines grow across the window that you're looking in. And you see the face of this humanoid-like creature made of like plant material. One human eye that is like pulled back with vines. The eye is black with a yellow ring around it like an abandoned.
Okay.
And it starts looking out the skylight as you duck back. I missed seeing you by one.
Whew. Glad I put stealth as expert back in the day.
You see the hand touch the glass and like start to open up the skylight. What does Nora want to do? There's still a conversation going on between these two, but there's definitely something coming outside.
Hit me, apparently. So, obviously, I'm going to try and scramble or get away from this thing before it can see me.
All right. This would be a
think
roll at this point for stealth if you're trying to do this stealthily. Are you jumping off the roof? Are you trying to like hide? Because this is one of those flat slanted roofs, and the roof faces where sunlight does come, so that all of our plants are getting sunlight in this new glass.
Yeah, I would try and hide like on the rooftop behind one of the... I know it's kind of like... I'm looking
They're raised like this, so like if this is the window and you're looking at a side shot of the roof's like this, and the window's open like that to hit the water run down and go around it, and the roof is slanted. So you have little areas to hide, like you could jump to the next skylight and like lay flat, but if he walks that way, the creature walks that way, it will see you. You won't be hidden. Jumping off the roof, you could try to go find a spot.
I will jump off the roof, because I was thinking like if there's like a box fan or whatever, you know what I mean? A larger
down here, there is some form of piping that goes into the city below, but it's probably not functioning anymore. None of the fans move anymore.
Right. I was just looking more for like a big area for me to hide behind. If there's not, I'm going to jump and then hide.
Biggest thing on the rooftop would be the stained glass, or this piece over here. There's that. Like, I will bring this, I'll slide this back forward a little bit for everyone. There's this piece back here that you could hide behind. That stands up. That's a grate that goes down into the building.
Yeah, I will try and hide over here.
All right, give me your stealth to dash away, and it would go down into this room. The fireplace is this piece here.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Let's see.
So move Nora over top of that room. I'm going to slide this back over it, just because we know where everything is.
Yeah.
And now you can kind of do that. And now we know what's what.
Let me get my stealth.
Oh, stealthy stealth.
I got 25.
So the creature comes up and through. And as it stands, you hear like cracking of wood, like stepping on twigs. Humanoid shape. He has 2 arms on one side and 1 on this side. The side that has the eye, actually this side that has the eye, has a humanish looking arm, but it's pale. And you see stained glass in its forearm. On the left-hand side, you see the 2 arms, and they're all made of wood and twine, and they're covered in thorns, and inside of it you see those flowers that are growing inside your office. The passive perception you have is high enough to notice the most important thing. On his back, where there's like a huge chunk of wood, the brand of Torg Flameborn is on there, which is the circle with the blade and the sun.
Right.
Now, everything you've been told is Grigori said it would be a circle with the thorns around it. Or not thorns, arrows, I'm sorry, around it. That is not what's on here. This is definitely a Torg symbol, the same one as branded on you.
Right. Okay. I think what's more concerning to me is that I think the host body is an abandoned who's sick.
Yes. And it starts lurching around, and it's kind of looking, and you hear like the cracks and pops. And as it steps, it leaves behind those flowers that after it gets maybe like 10 foot from him, they decay and rot away.
Okay.
And he searches the perimeter, and he makes it over to the other side of the vent, and he pushes some of like the smoke out of the way as he walks through. As you see the one glowing yellow eye, there is that mark on him. When he turns around, it flickers for a minute, and you see like a red, warm ember glow in it that fades away, and it pulses again and fades away. I need an occult check from you.
Okay. $27.
That emblem, that brand, is a symbol known for what golems or effigies would have, but specifically a group of followers of the keepers who embody the keeper can summon a guardian or a golem of them, but they are known as eidolons, and they can summon one of them to protect them. If this is tied to her, that means she can see through it. And that marking is what ties the two together. The mark of a summoner is specific to people who are physically touched by a keeper. They're like a first-hand empowered binder or summoner of a keeper. And that means that she has been touched by the same keeper brand that you have at some point in time.
Okay.
As it lurks and looks around the area, and you see the hand come over top of the grate as it starts to pull itself over to look. Nora, I need initiative from you to get away before it sees you. I will let you know that this creature, one-on-one combat, probably not a smart idea.
Yeah, no, I want to get away. I think, though, that I'm going to use perception instead of stealth, because I was keeping an eye on it.
Yep.
And when I was looking at it and figuring all this stuff out, I wasn't really focused on being stealthy.
Yes. So give me a perception check. Like, oh shit, he's like, oh, look at this and that and the flowers. And all of a sudden you're like piecing it all together. You're like, oh, he's really close to me.
He's really close to me. I don't really like this. This feels
give me a
bad.
roll.
I'm hero pointing that because I don't want to get.
I marked it.
All right. That's a little better. I got 26.
So as it reaches over the top, you see the thorns grow out of underneath the abandoned skin, and it has like stained glass pieces in the thorns. As they come over, you hear that like scratching on the metal. As a second hand comes around and grabs the grate, and it lifts the entire stack that you were hiding behind off of the roof, and you are no longer there. As the crumbling and stuff falls into the hole below, I'm assuming Nora has rolled off the back of the roof. The drop's not that far. You won't take any damage from hang dropping.
I would definitely hang drop.
Lygan is still there. My question to you is, where does Nora see herself in this situation? Is it get Lygan out and bounce? Is it bounce without Lygan? As a creature, you hear the noise, and it lands like 15 foot past the wall, and you see the crush of all the rubble from the rooftop, and just the shadow on top as it starts to look over, looking for wherever the creature is it's searching for has went.
So what sucks? Let me pull these up real quick.
Yeah, you definitely need to write a Penny Dreadful. I'm just saying.
What sucks is that I was like, at first I was like, okay, this is bad. And then I was thinking, I might be able to catch this woman. And then it summoned her Eidolon. And now I'm like, I don't think this is a good idea. Let me see what I can do here.
Well, let me get the music I actually wanted for this here. Hold on. Hounds of War. Do Nora. Tick tock. Are you running or are you staying?
I would stay. I can't in good conscience leave Lygan to himself, to his fate.
I mean,
and then also it'll also make me look less guilty in the eyes of Jack.
That's true. That is very true. If you successfully get him out of here, it would definitely do that. So I guess give me a stealth check. Are you going to try to like lead him on a chase away from here and like double back? How are you going to get to Lygan without this creature getting you? Because that's on the roof walking around.
Yeah, I guess I would try and lead him on a chase to double back. Or lead him on a chase and then double back.
Okay.
Yeah.
Give me a stealth check.
Yep, working on it. That's a 22.
Here we go. 22. All right, Nora. As he comes over the edge and looks, you've made your check by 2. Which direction would you send him as a distraction?
I would send him out into the middle of the... I would send him towards the middle of the city.
So if you guys are here, would you throw something? How would you distract him to like head in that direction? Would you actually run that way and double back? Or would you throw something? How would Nora make someone chase them and then make her way back to the body?
I think she would. I think I would let them give chase. Like I would actually go run.
Okay.
And then try and lose them. Like make after that, like throw some rocks or whatever, and then double back.
I'm going to give you a 1 success in a chase scene. We are looking for a total of 3, just enough to lead him away and double back. You've gotten 1. You can't use stealth again, so now you've got out in the open and he's following. You're a silhouette in the night. He sees it. He jumps off the rooftop and lands. When he lands, it is like a plant crashing on the ground and then growing and reforming. I need to know what check you want to use next in the chase to get away and be able to double back. You need 3 in total. So critical right now would give it to you. Would you go with what? You already used stealth, so you can't use that again. Athletics? Acrobatics? Knowledge nature?
I will use survival.
Okay. So survival. How would you flee through a city? Check. You had to do this in the dark tides and turmoil?
Yep.
Give me your roll.
I picked it up as one of my skills when I leveled because those memories came back as well.
Yep. Give me a roll.
I got 26.
So as you run back through in between these ruined buildings, and the sun is pouring down, like this is the middle of the day because you want to come when the tides are gone. Nora's best bet is actually to step into a dark tide pool. She's immune to it. It doesn't affect her, right? That stuff doesn't hurt you. As you get into one of the tide pools, it goes trouncing by, and the first thing you notice is it does not step near the tide pool.
Okay.
Making its way through towards the Everston building, you make your way out. You critically beat me. So you get 2 successes and get to double back. Doubling back to Ligon, when you look in the window, the woman is no longer there. She obviously knows it's giving chase. They are connected. You don't know where she is right now. You've lost the subject. You don't know enough about how summoners work to know how close she can be. How do you go about getting Ligon out of here? And I will move you to Ligon again. And I will move Daddy away from here.
Okay. So then... Shit, since she's gone, and I don't know how close she is, I think I'm going to have to try and use medicine to try and get him down from there.
Okay.
Like, cut him away. Like, treat this almost like he got wounded and, you know, there are shards sticking in him, like that kind of deal.
Yeah.
So.
Give me a roll.
All right.
Gotta go with our theme song.
I'm using another hero point.
All right.
Because I don't want to kill him on the vine.
Okay. Marking your hero point.
That's a lot better.
It's 5 for the day.
I got 31.
All right, so you said you're using medicine, right?
Yeah, because I'm trying to like treat it like he has a whole bunch of shrapnel trapped in him kind of deal.
So if you would have gotten less than a 30, you would have had to cut part of him away.
Okay.
With a 30 plus, you are able to trim everything away, leave the vines in him intact. Specifically, you pull one from the root that has went through and connected to his heart.
Okay.
As you bring it away, the heart picks up and it starts beating, and he goes, and he starts coughing up like pollen. And you've seen this before. It looks like when it tried speaking with you, when your plant does.
Right.
He's coughing it up, but it goes away quickly. He's unable to walk. You are definitely going to have to either walk with him and carry him, or if you're strong enough, you can put him into the fireman carry and jog your way back along the edge towards your wagon.
So I am stronger than I was before. I don't know if it's considered strong enough, but I boosted my strength to 14.
You gonna pop your suspenders?
I don't think I can make it to my wagon in a minute.
No, but it could at least get you away from this area, like across the buildings. Because you got to think, you move half movement from here. Let me zoom in here. I can give you a quick math. You are roughly... You are looking at 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, 60, 65, 70, probably 500 foot from your wagon.
Okay.
Half movement. You move at 30, right?
I move at 25.
Oh, 25. Okay, so 50, 75 half. That's your movement per round if you use all 3 actions.
So if it's 500 feet,
Yep.
and I go 75 half, or 75... 5. I can do math, I swear. 75 times 10. Okay, if I use the suspenders and I'm successful, I can get 375 feet covered.
That's pretty good. Or you can save them if you think you want to save it to near your wagon. Your choice which way you want to do it.
I want to save them until I'm near my wagon, just in case anything goes poorly.
Give me your first athletic check as you start running.
Okay.
I'm assuming you are running, not stealthing. It would take a lot longer to stealth there.
Well, see, that's what I'm kind of concerned about. Like, if I wasn't able to cut him down without injuring him, I would be running. But since I was able to do some of that, I wonder if it might be safer for me to stealth, because I don't want them to come running after me while I'm running in this muck.
Give me a nature check. I will give you a little bit of insight into what a primal eidolon does.
Okay, so this would fall under recall knowledge, which I can actually add my level to.
Yup. Yeah. Do you have the thing where you don't get false knowledge? Do you have that?
No, I don't,
Okay.
unfortunately. Let's see.
That's my favorite feat in PF2.
I actually got 25.
Okay, primal eidolons. There's 2 things you need to know. One, when they are charging someone to attack, they can charge, move all of their movement, and still hit. So that he can move his entire movement. 2, he's probably not slowed by the soil.
Okay.
So stealthing may not be a bad idea, because if you do get seen running, he is going to catch you. Specifically because you move 5 foot slower, and half of that because you move through soil. So stealthing is not a bad idea. If you would like to stealth your way out of here, you can, but carrying him, the DC is going to be a little bit harder. How good are you at stealthing?
I mean, my passive is 22.
You can take your passive if you want. I'm going to eventually make you roll at least once leaving the city, though.
No, that's fine, but I'm just letting you know, like, my passive...
With him, though, so as you are stealthing out, you get about halfway. You get to the second lock. Let me move us to a map view.
Okay.
Since you are now fleeing the scene. This area here. Right there. Ooh, I can move these too. Huh, cool. That area here, where that pin, yeah, that pin there, you got it. I'm gonna move that one. This pin here, boom, there.
Okay.
As you get to that lock, from behind this building you have marked with an E here, you see him come out and you see the silhouette of this 8 foot tall eidolon round the corner. and the one glowing eye kind of flares and you can see him. He definitely knows where you are. A 22 is good enough to get you past the 2 checks I made to chase after you. The last one is a home run stretch sprint to the wagon. If you get to the wagon and you get it going, you will be faster than the creature because you have a soul stallion, so you're going to be quicker. I need an athletics check versus my athletics GC. You are carrying a person. That is a -4.
Okay, so what do you need first, the stealth or the...
Nope, you're done stealthing.
Okay. Then...
This is the last check home run.
Knowing that, like, I shift a little bit, and then I do
snap. You put your arm through and snap the suspenders?
Yeah.
All right. So you snap the suspenders.
That negates the -4.
Negates the -4. Give me your check. The DC is a 25.
Okay.
The song playing right now is Find the Path. I did not pick that. That is just Spotify trolling us.
I got natural 20. Holy shit.
So as you sprint out through the fields, down the road, picking the cobblestone path, as you can see the little bit of remnants of life of like insects and stuff, you are able to pick a solid path to run back with that natural 20. Good old abandoned site. As you make your way out on the wagon, you can see the soul and the horse waiting as it's like eating small souls that are wandering by, as it's like snorting them up and eating them, waiting for you like a horse would eat grass. It looks up to you as you get near. You toss him into the back, I assume?
Yes.
As you see the first boom, as it jumps over 30 foot and lands and starts to give chase. As you get in the wagon, wrap on it and tell the stallion to go, I need you to give me a check to get away, just controlling the stallion because you are in a combat scenario. Okay. This is a souled creature, so you don't have to use your survival. You can, if you'd like, use survival to ride, or you can use your nature, or you can use occult, your choice.
I will use occult because that is the best out of the 3.
All right. Give me your roll as you start whispering to it in hollow.
I got a 22.
The horse turns and takes off. This thing strides once, strides twice. It's moving quick as the horse picks up speed, as you guys hit the road. You outpace this thing. You are 5 foot faster than it is with the stallion. As you look back behind you, it gives chase for about a mile and finally gives up. It turns around and heads back, and it steps into a tree and vanishes. As you're making your trip home a few moments later, you see it step out of another tree trying to catch you. Dives, misses the wagon. This time, I need a perception check for you as we close out you fleeing with Ligon in the carriage.
I got 31 for that one.
You notice that one eye is still that black and yellow. The other one is bright red, and it now has these wood-like horns that are out of it. Okay. Did not have those before. It was a normal form. It has more of a feminine feature to it as it bounds out of one tree to the next, trying to catch up and give chase. 4 miles, your horse rides hard until it finally gives up as the trees break away and there's no way for this thing to chase after you anymore. The last tree, the silhouette of this feminine, 8 foot tall, 2-armed wooden creature with horns, and the eyes of red and yellow just burn in the distance. You've given it a good run, but it does not catch you. It turns and walks away back into the shadow. Ligon, sitting up in the back, coughing, has been pulling branches out of himself and tossing them into the ground inside of the carriage. And he leans up to the front and goes, They're one person. They merged. She caught me outside the city. She can take a body. As he coughs up more of the pollen and blood into the front seat next to you. Mm-hmm. Ligon passes out. Does not die because you made a 30. Otherwise, he would have died on the ride home.
Oh.
You now have someone that you can, during your downtime, that the group does not know about yet, you can talk to. He has been investigating specifically the deaths in the city as a retired Earth Guard for the last 12 months. With this said, 4 of the 8 victim cards are now solved, as he can give you the cases for those that he has already made. Off screen, we'll get into those. I don't want to ruin it for the people who have watched this, but I can tell you that some of the victims that have been murdered are pivotal to not only what's happening here, but for those who will watch the side quest where you were speaking to the relics with Calliope, and all of them are pivotal to the death of those people. You know Olivie Howitz is a summoner. You now know that she can take on the body of her Eidolon, which means she can merge with them, and she can give chase. The worst part about this is, if you remember back, there is a woods that you were told to go to from Edna.
Yeah.
That is probably the best clue you have to the murders and to a lead right now for figuring out what is going on.
Okay.
So with that, I'm actually going to end our side quest. Nora, I have a lot of documents I have to give you. A lot of things that got solved. Those who have played the victim cards, here is what the victims have done. Olivia is now level 8.
Cool. Thanks, guys.
The victim cards from here on out are deaths in the city of major NPCs. Terry is on the table as one of those. I have a random table of every NPC that we have made for Merrifield, and every time a victim card is played, I'm going to roll. One of those major NPCs, besides being Terry, is Oliver. Because he is the prince of the Summer Court. Oliver, I'm coming for you, baby. And now you have an Inquisitor, and you have someone from the Fae after you. I can't wait. You better play smart, brother, because this shit's about to get real bad. Nora, thank you for solving this investigation. Thank you for taking side quest 10. We got to do one that was a little more of that nuance crunchy, which is super cool. You and Voss both love that stuff, which is super fun. Do. I can't wait to see what happens next episode dealing with everything and our next side quest, because our next side quest, I'm actually going to try to get at least 2 of you for, and I think I know who they have to be. So that's it for us, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm going to kick us to our lovely intro made by Loretta in real life, we based the ghost around for the Everstead Manor. You can find her. It's No Flying Fox on Instagram. Her stuff is amazing, and she made this gorgeous info for us. And like always, beware, or the tides may find you. Bye, everybody. I hope you enjoyed this side quest. look up. Thank you for watching episode 10 of SideQuest. Check out the rest of our playlist for our replays of Dark Tides, and follow us over on Twitch at Eric Frankhouse Presents. Till next time.